Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Divi Nation. Divi Nation is a podcast and video show by Elegant Themes, the creators of Divi, the ultimate WordPress theme and visual page builder. The goal of Divi Nation is really simple. We want to provide you with the knowledge, insights, and supportive community that you need to be successful with WordPress and Divi. I'm your host, Nathan B. Weller, and as your host, it is my job to facilitate that success by having various guests from the Divi and wider WordPress community onto the show to share their stories and experiences with you. In this episode, I interview Christina Drawdy of She's a Geek, which is a web design company that focuses on a holistic understanding of a client's business and an objective-first approach to the web design itself. In our chat, Christina shares the story of how she started designing and developing websites, nearly gave up, and then did whatever was necessary to get back to the way of living and working that was true to who she is, namely starting her company, She's a Geek. Along the same lines, we also discuss the importance of doing business in a way that does more than simply pay the bills, the key to which, in this instance, is developing your web design superpower, the thing that makes working with you uniquely valuable. All that and more in today's episode of Divi Nation. Here it is. Christina, welcome to Divi Nation.
I'm so excited.
It's really good to have you. It was really cool when this, I really love it when this happens, is I'll put a message out on Facebook saying, hey, we're looking for a new batch of nominations of people to have on the show. And the community is always reliable in just flooding that thread with lots of great names. Your name came up and you were like immediately available. So this was yesterday and here it is the next day and we're talking. We've briefly met once before, but we've never had an in-depth conversation. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Me too. I just remember you being in Ohio and,
Yep.
hanging out with you and the Divi team over in WordCamp, which was a ton of fun. So I'm really excited to, get to know you some more here. Yeah.
WordCamp US was a great time last year. And I know we're going back this year. It's instead of Philadelphia, it's going to be in New Jersey.
No, Tennessee. We're going
Nashville
country.
Is what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
It's got my city names with ends mixed up. Yeah, Nashville, Tennessee. So I hope you're going to be there. And if you're watching or listening, you guys should definitely make a point of coming out. It's going to be a blast. And that's if you're wanting to end up on the show too. That's a great way to get into what is sort of becoming like a kind of nucleus of core community members who are going to these events, getting involved above and beyond the norm, and kind of really making a name for themselves. So come to those events, meet us, meet other people, and make those connections that expand your business, expand your mindset, expand your social circles. It's good all around.
It is. Amazing connections.
So typically what we do on the podcast, since this was such a quick turnaround for booking and then recording, I just want to let you know we like to start off with sort of a day in the life. So you are a Divi web designer. What does your typical day look like?
So I am pretty much obsessed with my work. I'm in love with being a designer and being creative, and I love my clients. So I wake up and grab my coffee, because no coffee before worky, and come to my desk and turn on my playlist and jump right in. And I work all day and play with my kids a bit because it's summer, and work some more, take some client calls and work some more.
And in case our listeners and watchers can't hear, there's a nice summer rain shower coming down on your end. I will do my best to cancel that out in post editing, but I actually think it's kind of a nice sound.
Is it relaxing for you?
It is. This is very mellow. It's a little like in Ohio, it's a little cloudy and overcast. We got some rain going on today, but you've got the benefit of having that nice tin roof. You get that like downfall or that downpour sound. That's just like, people buy recordings of this so that they can either like zone out and work or go to sleep or whatever. So it is kind of nice. I just have to keep myself alert enough to keep plugging along. So, make sure everybody knows what company you're working for, or that you started and represent.
I've been designing and developing websites for 14 years. So I actually have been around before WordPress. And then when it first came out, I didn't like it. Sorry. But I gave it another try and fell in love. So that's really all I do now, because it's just so much of a better workflow for me and for my clients. And once I discovered Divi, which was like 3 years ago-ish, it was on like Donkey Kong. And that's really like all I use for my clients now. And they love it. My business is called She's a Geek because I am a geek and I can't help myself. So
nice. Very cool. Well, tell us a bit about that backstory. Let's go into more detail there. How long have you been designing and developing, and how did that kind of start?
Yeah, when I was just a kid, like 14-ish, I started wanting to learn how to code. I don't tell, but I wanted to learn how to hack my brother's computer. I can't tell you if I actually did or not, but maybe. So then my high school had a tech part to it, so you could take web design. So I took a couple of semesters of HTML and CSS and design and photography courses and just all kinds of creativity courses, and I just fell in love, and it's been going ever since. So when I was and actually the way that my business came together, because I have worked on my own as freelancing and owning my own business since I was 19.
Oh, wow.
As being a web designer.
Yeah.
What happened was when I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, who was 14, so it makes it really easy to remember how long I've been doing this. I was in this mom's group on AOL forums.
Oh, wow.
And we were all pregnant.
Old
we were all
school.
due in January of 2003. So some of these, it was getting close to like our due dates, and we were all talking about like how if we were going to go back to work and what we wanted to do. A lot of us really didn't want to go back to work. Some of them had some really cool skills. Like one of these people made baby slings, like to wear your baby.
Oh, wow.
This one lady had like a basement business where she made like homemade lotions and soaps and stuff. And well, I knew how to build websites. So we had our babies and we had our businesses were born too. And I've been doing it ever since. A few of their businesses are still alive. Some of them, I have no idea what happened. But I've been going strong ever since.
That's awesome. Women are so much better at this stuff than guys are when it comes to that community of support. Like guys are just these like lone,
really band together.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I mean is like guys tend to this is just personal experience and observation, but they get an interest and they'll like message online, like forums and stuff like that. But a lot of it is like, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's a competitive nature of certain guys or whatever. It's just like you tend to be kind of on your own, doing your own thing. And I look at different communities, and a lot of times the women that we talk to or that I get to know in tech or in WordPress or with Divi, they find a start amongst just like other really supportive women. And I think that's so cool. I hope that there's a subgroup of Divi users who are out there supporting themselves in the same way. And I think, at least in Divi, as far as I can tell, that goes across gender lines. But at least for just like in general, I always hear about these awesome supportive women's groups, and I don't hear that as often about men. So I'm always just an observation. There's no point to that. It's just kind of cool.
There are a few.
Yeah. So
because of some men that have been coming knocking on these groups' doors,
oh yeah,
like, hey, can we have one for us, please? And
so
absolutely. It's created opportunity. So some of these female centric groups have said, hey, come on in. And then some of the men have said, okay, you know what? We're going to create one for us too.
Yeah.
So it's definitely started as like females banding together.
Right.
and men are taking up that whole like, hey, we want to do this too thing
because
we're over the whole competition stuff, and we just want to. Sometimes, men want to talk and network and help each other, and it's not all
be supportive and encouraging.
My funnel's bigger than your funnel,
right?
Stuff.
Absolutely. So you came out of that experience had you already started She's a Geek as your business, or when did that come about?
No, I rebranded as She's a Geek in about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, okay. So what happened right after the group? What was your, I guess, path from there to working in WordPress and Divi and all that?
So I was building sites for very low prices back then because I didn't really know any better, because I didn't have these typical agency experience, or I was just kind of winging it. And so I was like, starting with these moms, I was just like, okay, I'll build you an e-commerce website, $150, no problem.
Oh my goodness.
And, after
that gives me
few
nightmares.
years, I got burnout. That gives me
yeah.
nightmares too. And I was just like, oh my God, screw this. I just want to go to a job and get a paycheck and go home and no more of this nightmare. So I took a sabbatical, went to nursing school of all things.
Yeah.
And then I ended up leaving nursing school and going back and
just learning, taking into account all the lessons you learned after you had a chance to recover from the trauma of charging too little and all that entails.
I went back at it with a whole new attitude of like, no, I'm not gonna give my life to these people for pennies. Like, it's crazy.
What do you think? So like, you were starting a different career trajectory. What caused you to come back to web design as opposed to? Because I mean, if that was your experience, did you always have that in the back of your mind, like, this should be possible? Maybe I just need to take another crack at it. What happened there?
Well, I chose nursing because my mom's a nurse, and I always kind of got pushed towards nursing, even though I always wanted web design. And I think that's just typical gender roles, stereotypes in my family. My dad was like, go to nursing school instead of taking the scholarship that you got to
to like an art school or a design school or something.
I graduated with Votech's full scholarship ride to any Florida university for getting my tech grades. And he was like, just go to nursing school, Christina. And I'm just like...
So is it like you had this horrible experience of just getting in over your head in the web design world, and you're like, maybe they're right. Maybe I should just go to nursing school.
Exactly. So then I'm like, well, maybe this is too much for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to just go be a typical woman and just go to nursing school and do that.
So what made you decide to come back?
I basically blew up my whole life and quit nursing school, left my marriage, moved, just blew up everything. And I was just like, big changes. I was just like, nope, I'm not doing any of this stereotypical stuff anymore. I don't fit in any of these boxes. I don't want this house with this fence and this big old yard. I want green hair, and I want to be who I want to be, and I'm tired of people telling me what to do. That was just a realization that happened one day? It's just like, this isn't what I want. All of the, I've always been, since I was little, starting to learn to code in my room when I'm 14 years old. And I was, I remember my first computer when I was 8 years old is a Commodore 64. And I remember playing Hubert on that thing like every day. Not many kids have those kind of memories.
Yeah. So it's just like a moment of identity going like, this is not who I am. I'm supposed to be, she's a geek. So that's when that came about.
It was like, I was just like, this life is not my life. It's just what other people wanted me to do. And I need to just burn this down and go get what I should be doing.
That's awesome. So what were some of the changes that you made coming back into it, launching She's a Geek? What were some of the changes you made that allowed you to actually live out that dream you had of being a web designer and developer?
I started using my face. So like my other businesses had that little micro agency type model where you use the we type language and you don't show a photo of who's working there. It's just all very like super professional. So I started
generic,
bringing my personality. Though. Exactly, super generic. So I'm getting architects and lawyers and accountants type jobs, and it's like, gag me with a spoon, please, because these are not my ideal clients.
Right.
I want the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I want funky, fun, creative stuff. That's just me.
We just talked about that with Monica Higgins an episode or two ago, where she was explaining how she really built her business around her style, and she built a visual style that was unique to her, and she stuck it out long enough that now her people come to her for her style instead of the other way around. She's not out there fishing for clients and then going, well, what do you want? Let's do that. As far as the aesthetic goes, they're coming to her because she does her thing, and she's done it. She's refined it to a point where people are like, oh, I like that aesthetic. Just give me that, but here's my information and like
most
direction.
of my clients these days, they give me their content and they just say, they give me full creative freedom. They just say, I trust you.
That's awesome. So what kind of stuff do you do? Is there a lot of original things that you bring to the table, like your own outside visual elements, like graphics and stuff that you create, or
I do a lot of I do hand-drawn illustration. I have a hand letterer on my team. I do a lot of unique visionary processing with my clients. I take I talk to them a ton. We spend a lot of time talking, and I really dig into their client and their process and what it is that they're trying to get at, because people tend to ask the wrong questions. They're so concerned about the how, like, how can I make this happen with this, and I need this to work with that. And I'm like, stop trying to worry about in the middle. The
technical stuff.
Tell me what A to B. Tell me what A is and what B is, and then I will worry about the middle.
Sure.
Who is your customer and what is your goal?
So you're saying like people are coming to you with this like, how do I get this widget in my sidebar type concerns, like technical, just like how does it work?
They're like, how can
you're going,
this widget connect to WordPress or connect to Instagram with a Zap and go to ActiveCampaign? And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, if this could have been a simple plugin for you.
So you're saying get your head out of the technical details, and let's talk about like, what's the purpose? What's the objective of your website?
Exactly.
And then I will, in the building of that,
I will worry about
we'll come up with the most
happens.
Elegant solution and figure out the how and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's the same with the user experience and the concept and the layout. A lot of people will come to me with their copy laid out page by page, or saying like, put this above the fold, put this over here, put this here, and I'm just like, let's not, because X, Y, and Z, and this shouldn't even be here at all. And can we please stop welcoming people to our homepage? They clearly know that they're on your homepage. Like,
right. It doesn't need to be like, welcome to this. Yeah.
Well, welcome. Why? I'm sorry. That's just like a pet peeve.
That's funny. Yeah. So talk about this process that you have then, because it sounds like, that's awesome that you're getting clients who are giving you your content up front, because a lot of people struggle with just getting people to give them stuff. Well,
it is a struggle sometimes, but the thing is that I don't start work until I have it.
Exactly. So once you get going, what's your process? How do you get people to an end result that they're happy with, that has your unique stamp on it, and that achieves their objective?
I will, before I really even look at their content, before I'll read through their copy, I have several, like Zoom. I use Zoom for video calls.
Sure, yeah.
I have several calls with them where I really dig into what their service or product is, who it's for, if I feel like they have some if they're positioning it wrong or in a way that doesn't make sense to who they're trying to get it to, I tell them. And I help them figure out maybe some ideas on how they can spin it around. If they don't have a clear plan of where it's going to go or who's going to see it, I totally help them rework everything. So when I basically spend, I'd say we have probably a good 4 calls where we go through all of their business, and we dig through everything that's going on, all of what they have, what their offers are, who their ideal client is, where their target market is, what their process is like, what's going wrong in their business right now, what's going right in their business right now, and what their main goal is for their website. People are in a rush. So the first question that I generally ask is, if your website visitor is only going to do one thing, when they get to your website, what is that one thing? Yeah. What do you want them to do? And people are just like, one thing? And so that really gets them thinking, well, I can only pick one. Yes, you can only pick one. Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to subscribe to your opt-in? Do you want them to go look at your shop page? Do you want them to, I don't know. What do you want them to do? You need to decide. And then we're going to work forward from there, because your website needs to be a journey. Yeah. So if you are one client that I'm working very closely with right now, on her homepage, there's 3 paths. It's like, she's a salesperson, she's a sales expert, and it's like she's asking, what is your sales situation? 1, 2, or 3, and there's some descriptions. That's home page, is main thing. Which one? It's very clear that that's the very first thing you see, because that's what she wants them to do, is to click one of those options. And what they're going to do is take them to the right page that which coordinates to the products and services that they would need if they are that person. Right. So it's a journey for that customer that is aligned perfectly for their needs. It's not a waste of time of, welcome to my website, I do this, and we're here for this, and thank you for that, and useless information.
Right. Well, that's amazing. I mean, to me, that's like, it's almost like you're not just doing a value add, but that's almost like a whole separate and consulting business almost of like, because we talked about this a bit beforehand and before the recording, which is that your approach is like, your unique value that you give to your customers is this holistic approach. It's like your superpower as a designer. Yeah. And the importance of finding that for you is that allows you to have something that, like, when people come to you, the thing that they're getting from you is that you're able to break down their business, you're able to understand their business, and then create a website that accomplishes specifically what they need to. Whereas there are other people who have different approaches. Some of those approaches are, grabbing copy, putting it into like a child theme, basically, and running with it. Other people have somewhere in between. I'm curious, how long does your process typically take from those first 4 discovery phone calls to delivered end product?
Because of how in depth we go from the phone calls, once we go through all the strategy and we go through all of that, and we've come up with a plan. Once they usually they go and they change all of their copy. Sure. They might recreate some new services or offerings to relate back to what the changes are, because we really flip things inside out a lot of times, because we realize this isn't really fitting the need, or it doesn't really make sense. Like your product isn't the right kind of product for the market that you're trying to sell it to. So there's a lot of reworking happening. once all of that comes to me and I have it, I think that it's because I've been so deep into it with them. The design process from there happens pretty quickly. So I would say that the whole process from beginning to end is about an 8 to 10 week timeline.
Oh, that's faster than I would have thought. It's not quite as all-encompassing as someone who is literally adding on services like copywriting and business consulting and stuff like that, which if anybody is interested in what that model looks like, if I remember correctly, that was something that Marie Poulin did, and I interviewed her several episodes back in when we were doing season 1. But anyway, your approach is simply having that holistic understanding without necessarily doing, consulting. So you're not saying like you're if I'm understanding correctly, you're not dissecting their business and then giving them a business plan. Rather, you're saying, I want to make sure that you are able to communicate to me exactly what your business does and is, and I'll talk you through that process in order to build you a website. You're not actually also offering that as a service, correct?
I don't offer it as a separate service. It's
right.
Like all contained.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. What made you develop this approach?
It just was something that I kept, it was accidental. It was just a need. Yeah. My clients were scrambled. Their stuff was a mess. And I was like, I didn't want to send them off with a website that wasn't going to work. That wasn't going to
accomplish the needs of their business.
Right. I don't feel good. I don't want to go to bed at night knowing that I charged someone several $1,000s for a website that's going to be a paperweight on the internet, because it's just not going to work. And so I would just give more and more advice, and it just snowballed.
Wow. That's really cool. That's really admirable too. I don't think there's anything ethically wrong with let's say like doing a fast turnaround, like a really fast turnaround. But
no, I
do think that
offering that as well, but that's been a struggle for me because I feel like the more that I offer this consultancy, business designing stuff with my web design, the cost has to go up, and then I feel guilty about not having the lower stuff for my longtime people, and it's a struggle.
I guess that's what I was getting at.
Is a big need for the people that work with, themes and put in the content, because not every business is ready for an investment where you are flipping your whole business around inside and out.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I think everybody has, a different ideal client. For instance, like the person who has all their ducks in a row and they literally like, I just need a web page that is XYZ. I need you to just execute that for me. That's not your client, but that is definitely the client for someone who's doing a fast turnaround and is able to just say like, yeah, I can do that. I can put your copy on this page.
Some people already have a vision in their mind, and then some people need a designer that has the ability to create the vision for them.
So what can you say has been the benefit of your approach and your business? I mean, clearly it's what makes you feel like you're providing value. And I think that cannot be underestimated, that feeling of personal fulfillment in the work that you're doing. It's really hard to quantify. Like it's hard to say like this did X, or this is measurable in this way. But I think over and over again, what I see are people who are fascinated by what they do. They're fulfilled by what they do, and the way that they do it. They're the ones you want to hire because, if you're a good fit for them and they're passionate and they're invested in the way that they do things, not just what they're doing. And that seems like a big part of how this came about for you is, you didn't want to go to bed thinking, I just charge this person X amount of dollars and I don't know how. It's hard for me to know if that's going to work for them. But now you've developed a way in which you're like, I know to the best of my ability that this is going to do what they want it to do.
Right. Like I've done everything that I can. And then if I feel like maybe there needs to be more, I can refer them to a marketing specialist. But with my knowledge, I've been in business and marketed for myself for a long time and helped a lot of businesses. So I feel like
Well, so compare this to your old way of doing things. I mean, you were doing $150 e-commerce websites that were, I'm assuming, as fast as you could turn them around, high volume.
They were quick turnarounds.
You're super burnout.
Was not paying attention to whether their business was going to work or not. Yeah. That wasn't my problem.
Right. So compare that to what you're doing now. What are some of the benefits of what you're doing now compared to that old model?
I get to go on the journey with the clients. Mm-hmm. They tend to become close friends and repeat clients over and over. I've had clients that stay with me for years, and I love them to pieces. Let's see. It makes me feel so good. Like, yeah. I get to watch them grow. I get to watch them succeed. I get to celebrate their wins with them. One of my clients recently was featured on TV and actually was interviewed on ESPN Radio not too long ago. And then I've had another client, her website was, I don't know, on a news website, and so I got to share that, and I just get so excited when I get to see their wins are so exciting for me, and that is such a huge it's such a huge reason why this feels so much better than just turning them out.
Yeah. That's so cool, because it sounds like, I mean, the big thing I'm getting from this is that, like, yes, both of those things are ways to make a living, but one way is, like, also a good way to live. You know,
right. Like, yes, you get to love it, because like, the other way, you don't really get to know them. It's just kind of like what is it? Like a line, like when you work in a factory.
Like an assembly line. Yeah,
assembly line. Yeah, you're just like turning them out. You're just not really paying attention. You're not really taking the time to get to know them, who they are, what their vision is, what their purpose is, and you don't care about their business, their brand, their vision. Yeah. But I get to take the time to do that, and then I feel invested. And so when they win, I win. And
do you get the sense? I mean, is there also investment on there, and do they feel like, oh, this is my designer, like this is who I'm with, you know, like
Oh yeah, I had somebody, like, people post and they tag me on Facebook as their geek, like, this is my geek, Christina.
That's awesome.
I'm just like, I have somebody who found a pair of glasses that look like my logo. They're like dollar store sunglasses that have eyelashes on them, and so my logo is geek glasses with eyelashes, because I'm a girl geek. And so she sent me a picture of her wearing these glasses with big old eyelashes, and she's like, she's a geek fan. So, like,
that's cool.
I have my people.
So it's literally your clients came up with your logo in a sense, like that's awesome. So that's what I love about the Divi community, is there's so much give and take from, you know, like, people who are in our community, they're not customers, they're like family, you know, because almost everything that makes up Divi as far as feature wise came from the people in the community going, hey, this would be really useful. And we're like, oh, cool, let's do that. And so in a way, it's like co-creation. And I think the best brands blur the lines between what it means to be a customer and what it means to be a part of the actual thing, whether it's a product or service or community or whatever. So
I think co-creating is essential to a truly successful client business relationship that's going to be, like, long term.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting close on our time limit, so I like to typically end these with a parting thought. We jumped around a lot, so what I would love right now is if there's one thing, if someone's listening in or watching and they've been following along, if they forget everything else that we've discussed, what's one thing that you would want them to hold on to as a takeaway when it comes to the way that you've chosen to run your business and conduct yourself professionally?
Find your superpower that makes you stand out. We're all web designers, but that's not what makes you special. Find what you do differently that makes you stand out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Christina. Really appreciate it. It's been really cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, that's all for this episode of Divi Nation. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I just want to give another big thank you to our guest, Christina Drawdy, for coming on the show. If you have any questions about what we discussed in today's episode, please feel free to leave those questions in the comments section on the Elegant Themes blog, and we will be sure to respond. Thanks again for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you all around the community. As always, I'll be back here next week with another episode of Divi Nation.